Hello and welcome to the Managing Madrid Videocast, the second ever. I'm sitting here, I think about 2 minutes after Madrid just drew the first leg of the Spanish Supercup with Atleti. I'm sitting here with my Managing Madrid co-founder, Josh Seitman, who's looking even more cavemanic than the previous time we did.
I don't know why this keeps happening. I don't actually have a huge clue, but
yeah.
Anyway,
so last time you saw us, it was right after the Bayern Munich game, and
big high for us. It was a great match.
And it's been, honestly, let's be clear, it's been a pretty good summer. After the Decima, we watched the World Cup. We didn't, get too much done then, and now we've had a great summer for Madrid. And now, of course, we were planning on doing this. It was going to be fun. I mean, not like it was bad, but Madrid just drew.
Yeah, obviously they could draw at home in a two-legged tie. It's not what you're looking for, a score draw. You don't want to concede goals. It's not the end of the world. It's not a disastrous draw. It's a slight advantage whatsoever. But as you pointed out earlier when watching the game, it just allows them to do their perfect game plan, which is that we need to score. They don't need to do anything. They will go through with a draw, which means that they have no incentive to attack at all. And that's frustrating.
And it's going to be frustrating, and it's going to be unpleasant, and let's talk about this game first. Then we're gonna break down a little bit the second one, and then we'll touch on the Sevilla,
the Spanish,
the UEFA Supercup.
So many Supercups. Who can keep track? This is
Super
the problem
Cups.
when you're so successful.
Life is
so
tough.
many trophies. Yeah.
I don't know what to do about that. So
keep winning. Keep winning.
Keep winning. So today, let me see. Let's take some positives. I think positives. Toni Kroos is incredible.
So well.
It's amazing, and we'll talk about him a little more when we talk about the Sevilla match, but I think that he showed even more mettle today. Like, he was getting hammered. This was Atleti's game plan to come out and hammer us, and it worked. It worked really well. They smacked us all around the pitch. The referee couldn't protect the players.
Yeah, normally you like to see a referee who lets the play flow. When you have a cynical team like Atleti, and I don't blame them for playing the way they play. That's their job, and it's our job to deal with that. But it's the referee's duty to protect the players and to enforce the laws of the game. And when you get somebody who wants to take a more laissez-faire attitude, that normally leads to a more entertaining, more free-flowing match. You don't want somebody stopping it every 5 minutes. But when a team takes advantage of that, it's tough to watch, and it makes the game really unenjoyable. It gives them an advantage that's basically unfair, which is that they hit the player whenever he gets the ball. They cycle them back and forth.
And listen, it's not like we haven't used these tactics before, so we recognize them. And I have to say, it's not like
And we got a lot of red cards.
And we got a lot of red cards, and that's the thing. And if you remember the Clásicos with Mourinho, we did play kind of like this. But we always ended up with 10 men. And I remember writing very angry articles about how is it possible that Madrid always ends up with 10 men in these games. Well, the truth is, that was a vehement, angry man talking about how his team was being cynical, and I was like, playing defensive, play physical, fine, fair enough, but we were being punished, and in this game, Atletico did not get punished for their really cynical play.
Yeah, I thought Siqueira was extremely lucky not to get a second yellow 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Particularly, he was actually taken off by the manager right after one, particularly...
It was very clear that he should have gotten a yellow card, a second yellow there.
And I think Simeone just needed to take him off so he didn't get one. And then, I thought there were several other athletic players who didn't get yellow cards when they needed them or didn't get a second yellow.
But look, it's not...
It is a glorified friendly, so I understand that you don't want to send people off, but you have to enforce the laws of the game. If people aren't going to treat it like a friendly and they're going to kick the stuffing out of you, then they need to get a card.
Particularly noteworthy on the left side where Bale was running, or excuse me, on the right side when Bale was running at Cicada. Anyways, I don't think we should talk too much more about this. We'll mention that there was a very obvious handball.
Very obvious. A clear penalty.
It was pretty shocking that it wasn't given. But again, I don't feel like this should be a conversation that we have too much as fans, because the truth is that it's our job to deal with that, and what we didn't deal with was corner kicks.
Tossed into the box.
We can't deal with it, and
let's talk about Iker Casillas, because I feel like this is what our fans are going to be interested in, and what we are interested in. We spent $10 million to bring in one of the best keepers in the world, and yet he sat on the bench tonight as Iker Casillas bumbled his way through yet another big night. Why? Why is this happening?
I can't explain it.
Let's talk about his mistakes.
So,
there was one quite early on where he came out for the ball, didn't get it, and then was extremely lucky when they shot directly at him. And
it's shades of the Champions League final when he came out fishing and nothing was there. Like he comes out and then they score because they just tapped the ball off the back of Godin's head and it goes in. And then we see the same thing tonight. It's a corner kick. The ball comes up and the
ball flashes. Quite close to him. So that's a problem at the first post. Carvajal is an incredibly tiny man. And
I'm still talking about the first one where it comes out and he jumps up and then Godin muscles him off the ball. Listen, it may be a foul, but the truth is if you're a goalie, you go up hard for it and you knock him down.
Yeah, I think he didn't get physical enough with Godin. He's not physically imposing. He's not confident in the air when he goes up for the ball.
And that's something that Navas does have.
Yeah, he has a lot of confidence. And he just doesn't make mistakes. Navas is a very consistent goalkeeper. Yeah. Maybe his highs aren't as high as Iker Casillas, and we all remember some great moments. That save for Spain in the World Cup final against Arjen Robben. World-class save. A double stop against Samuel Eto'o some number of years ago in the Clásico. We all remember all of these saves, but the fact of the matter is that Madrid has been soft on corners and free kicks and balls in the air for as long as I have been watching. And guess who's been goalkeeper? There's been a cycling cast of different defenders, world-class defenders. And we can't seem to deal with this problem. World-class defenders and world-class coaches.
And I was going to say world-class defensive managers who actually can do everything they can do to shut down this problem. But at the end of the day...
3 of the best defensive managers in the world.
That have ever coached.
Carlo Ancelotti,
Fabio Capello,
and Jose Mourinho. And no one could sort this out. And
it has to be time, because for a long time on the Videocast, we've been very reticent to talk about this glaring issue, and it's always been about the back line losing their marks. And at this point, no, it's not. It's just not.
Who's in charge of making sure that the defense is organized? The goalkeeper. And Iker Casillas has never been able to do that. He's not a leader like Buffon. He's not a leader like Thibaut Courtois. Right. He doesn't yell at it. You don't see him yelling as a defender, except when they make a terrible mistake and leave him totally exposed.
What he is one of the world's best shot stoppers. One of the greatest shot stoppers to ever play the game. And that's wonderful. Like, there were moments when first of all, he's losing his edge in that. But there are moments when, you see someone take a shot from distance and he has a beat on the ball. That's not going in. The truth is, it's not going in against most keepers.
No.
So, is this really what we're going to sacrifice for this? No.
There's a reason he lost his spot to Diego Lopez. We have to imagine that in training, he just wasn't cutting it compared to Lopez. Which is, by the way, I think he was a bit hard done by. But Lopez is not a world-class goalkeeper, so I'm not too worried about it. In fact, poor guy, he was lobbed in a friendly against Valencia for his new club.
I saw it, and we saw it in the States, man. That's rough. Look, this is again. I want to emphasize, we were not going to come on here and celebrate if Madrid had won, and we're not going to hang our heads in shame.
This is a glorified friendly.
It's look, we won the game that mattered against Atlético last season. And that's what we should take away.
But this is a harbinger. This is a harbinger of things to come. This is what we need to learn how to deal with this season. Last season, we lost 1-0 in Bernabeu, and we drew 2-2 with them in the Calderon.
That arguably was it for our Liga. That was basically our shot right there, and it's just not going to cut it.
It's not good enough. Our results against Barcelona are another story.
That's a difference. Also not good enough in the Liga.
But this is a learning opportunity. We need to take what we can from this. Right. And if we can take that Casillas is not capable of defending, especially against Atleti, who are so aerial. Yeah.
in a lot of ways, Atleti is the freak confluence of team that exposes our weakest points. Madrid is an incredibly good team on the counterattack. Atleti doesn't allow us to counterattack. Madrid's an incredibly good team when you give us any space in the middle. They don't give us any space in the middle. Madrid is terrible defending aerial balls. Essentially, their entire offense is through the air. This is just...
And not good at set plays.
But the truth is, if that's true, given that that's true, we have to get better at the places where we're not good. I thought our offense actually did look pretty good.
It was okay. It was a little...
Listen, it's as good as it can look against probably the best defensive team on the planet.
Well, I thought it was kind of a mistake right off the get-go to play 3 sort of deep-lying, ball-playing center midfielders.
I would have liked Thomas or ADM.
Somebody who offers a little bit of creativity, a little bit of unpredictability. Yeah, something like Di Maria or Thomas. Exactly.
Cruz, listen, he's amazing. He's looking like the
that's a
15-year center midfield for Madrid.
I mean, it's a fantastic signing.
It's an unbelievably good signing. 10
player.
years.
He could play anywhere in the midfield. He's great in defense. I mean, he did miss that beautiful chance, but he was on the volley.
Anyone can miss that chance. Cristiano has missed chances like that, etc.
Also created the goal with an excellent pass.
He did. I mean, James. We have to give credit to James for. I mean, I said this. I think that when you watch the play, you watch James read the play. There are not many people in the world who do that well.
He comes from the edge of the box.
And he just sees it, and he's right there and ready for it. And there are not many players. Like, that's a skill.
You talk about Benzema's play, who was largely peripheral for much of the game. And I thought he could have done a better job trying to hold up the ball.
I agree with
space for his players. He's a muscular guy, and people forget that. He's a big
and one of the things that if you're having a team that's pressing you and it's not letting you break is that you need
a Lewandowski or a Drogba battering ram type player who
hang on to the ball to get the space.
But
Anyways,
the thing about Benzema there is he goes down because he gets tackled from behind. Absolutely, a stonewall penalty, by the way, but it wasn't called because advantage was played. Fair enough. But although it is a card,
it should have been a card also.
Whatever.
But it was. I think it was someone on a yellow that
I think it was a red card. I mean, it could have been denial of obvious goal scoring opportunity as well. But anyway, so he gets tackled and he gets back up immediately and manages to tap the ball away. In order to set up the chance. I mean, that was really quick thinking. A lot of players go down and they start complaining, which they should because
it's a penalty. But if they don't give it, they don't give it. So he showed a lot of gumption there. I really liked. Let's see. I want to go back to positives because I feel like
Di Maria was interesting.
Di Maria was good.
And it looks like he's staying now.
It does to me.
Because Khedira, I always thought it was going to be one of the two and not both.
I agree.
And Khedira wasn't on the bench, right?
He wasn't even on the bench.
So I think that seems clear that he's either going to Bayern to replace the injured Javi Martinez, who did his cruciate ligaments and is out for the entire year, or he's going to either Arsenal or Chelsea. I would think Arsenal, because Chelsea doesn't really need him. But
you'd think.
You would think, but they are collecting a lot of great players.
And I think that absent a real overwhelming bid, Florentino values. I mean, I think he values Di Maria more or less correctly as one of the absolute best players in the world. 70 million euros.
And I think if we want that Paris Saint-Germain will come calling again next year, they pulled out of the deal for financial fair play considerations. They just couldn't afford him this year. There was some discussion that there would be a kind of nod, wink deal where he would be loaned to them and then they would buy him the next season. But I think Madrid rightly said,
how about instead of that, we'll just keep him.
Yeah, how about that? So that we'll
he's
just
an incredibly dynamic player who can break down a defense like Atleti's, and you saw him do it.
And additionally, it's a bad idea to antagonize UEFA.
No, let's not
and to try to subvert the rules.
We have in the past been the team that UEFA's hated most, and I think right now we're not. So
I think that basically
we back off and don't fight with them.
Basically, we're not in danger of financial fair play. Financial fair play is largely good for us because it makes.
There's also a lot of.
It makes our comparative advantage in our revenue.
More helpful, right?
Pay
because,
better against clubs.
I've read the financial fair play law code, whatever it is, and it's mainly about debt to equity. So
it's mainly about spending within your means
and we have a lot
injecting
of means.
Capital.
Right.
And so because Real Madrid doesn't inject capital from owners
or banks.
Loans. Yeah, I mean, people like to talk about our bank loans, and we do get favorable credit lines because we're extremely wealthy.
But there's a reason we get favorable credit lines because we deserve favorable credit, right? So it's just...
the fact of the matter is, if you're a club who makes a lot of money, financial fair play is really good for you.
Yeah,
if you're a club that has been subsidizing, sort of low yields with large amounts of short-term cash injection, like Manchester City or Chelsea, financial fair play is pretty bad for you.
Right. It's actually really more than
PSG,
an anti-spending or an anti-player movement thing. It's an anti.
It's not a
rich
salary
owner
cap.
thing.
If it were a salary cap or a
revenue sharing
or something like that, then it would be more about stopping money from being such force in football. But as it is,
it's just about
reifying the old order and keeping newer clubs out, kicking the ladder out.
Oil sheiks probably don't you're going to try to buy all these players, but we're going to prevent that as much.
The sort of perverse consequence, is that individual players have become if you can only make one signing, other clubs know they have you over a barrel. And so David Luiz goes for $50 million now. So the prices have definitely gone up despite financial fair play. I mean, weirdly, you would think.
Yeah, well, you'd think, but anyways, the point, and I also want to say we're not actually passing any judgments on this because I don't like the idea. Like, I think financial fair play is more complicated. Like, the idea of financial fair play is a good one. I think it's been executed weirdly, right?
Yeah,
to punish the wrong people. But
it's basically punishing the right people. PSG and Chelsea and Man City are being punished.
If you really wanted to fix this, there are a lot of other things you would do, and I don't think UEFA's actually that interested in fixing the problem of super teams, right? They actually get a lot of money from it. It works well. So let's talk. I wanted to talk.
Anything else you want to talk about from that game? Previewing the second leg.
Let's preview a little bit. I think that Madrid's going to have to come out to score, which is going to be
play right into their hands.
Play right into Atleti's hands, unfortunately. But
their counterattack didn't look great, though.
It didn't. I think that
they really only looked good on set plays.
It's true. Losing Diego Costa, I think, is complicated. I think that Contrao has to play next match. I think that I did want to bring up that we both. I thought Marcelo just looked lost and terrible in this match.
He did the same thing over and over again and just wasn't working for him, and he had no other answer. Normally, you can count on Marcelo to be, if terrible on defense, at least quite creative on attack.
Man.
But he just kept running into this pocket where they could isolate him really close to the touchline, and then thwacking across into nowhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
I have to tell you, I am
cutting it back and getting it stolen from him.
So. I think that he is a change. Like we talk about change of pace players. I think he's a change of pace player for Contrao, who should be the main starter.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you
bring him in at the end of towards the middle of games if you're looking for an edge, shooting someone else the opposing. But that's it, man. That's it.
Right
he was just all over the place. He was very active, but the problem is that we didn't need him to be that active. He shouldn't be. It shouldn't be Real Madrid. Real Madrid's attack shouldn't include Marcelo touching the ball tons. Also, ideally, he doesn't touch the ball that much.
No positional discipline. I saw him so many times pop up in the center of midfield, and Carvajal does this too, which is actually really quite annoying, but he doesn't do it as much as Marcelo does. What is he doing there? He needs to be making overlapping runs on the flank to free up the winger. That's his job. And then he needs to get back and defend. And I have to say, he just doesn't do either of those things well. He's a left back who thinks he's some sort of flashy attacking midfielder, but he's just not good enough at it.
He's just not.
So there was an experiment some number of years ago where he was played essentially as a midfielder under Mourinho.
I remember that, and I didn't hate that.
It didn't work very well, but it was okay.
Better than what has happened today.
We spent a lot of money on Contrao. He was excellent last season. I don't see why Marcelo is starting a competitive match, especially since Marcelo was awful in the World Cup. He was so bad. Why is he being preferred to Contrao here? I think this is a strange one.
It's also the Casillas stuff, right? Like, it's just getting back to...
I just wonder whether it's Ancelotti is just treating this as another preseason match, not as a competitive fixture.
And he's trying out things.
And he's just swapping the team around. So Xabi Alonso didn't play in the Fiorentina game, so he comes in.
Entirely.
Casillas didn't play in the Fiorentina game, so he comes in.
James did, and all these players.
Di Maria did,
so we start on the bench. I mean, maybe that's what's going on. If that's true, that's fine.
That is fine.
But here's the thing, right? We have a deep enough squad. Madrid has a deep enough squad this season where they should be challenging and they should feel comfortable running out strong teams for every single competition. And we're not going to take this one too seriously because, let's be clear, it's probably the least prestigious of the
absolutely. It's less prestigious than the Supercup
of the six, right? The Intercontinental Cup is probably the least prestigious.
But it's good PR.
It's good PR, I guess. Anyway, so the point is this, right? We should be trying, but let's not get over it. Let's not get over. But
given that you have to win two matches against some team from New Zealand or whatever. Right. And the other one against against the South American teams.
So next match, we talked a little bit about how we both would like to see a little bit more dynamism. I think that's what I'd like at least.
Well, it's tough because it's not necessarily the way that I would want to play against your average La Liga team, but it is the way I want to play against Atleti. I think they're going to defend very deep, two disciplined banks of four, and
I think we play.
It's going to be tough.
I think we maybe run out a 4-4-2 or a 4-5-1 against them with
it's
a strong wing presence.
Because their traditional move is to play this 4-4-2, but where the strikers both drop back into midfield to overload it, so that they essentially have 6 players in the midfield. But without Diego Costa or David Villa, who are very disciplined,
right?
Does Mandzukic, do Mandzukic and and Raul Garcia do that effectively. I don't know yet. But you do run the risk if you play a 4-4-2 against them getting overloaded in midfield.
That's true.
So maybe the answer is to keep playing 4-3-3 and just insert
straight up like for like, or not like for like, but insert ADM or James for Xabi Alonso.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alonso maybe is not necessary against this squad. He's sort of about dictating play and controlling the game.
And they're going to give us the ball anyway.
And they're going to give us the ball. So I think that maybe Kroos, Modric, and then
Angelito probably. Or, I mean, if he wants to hang the ball a little bit more. Yeah, we can play 4-2-3-1. That's true.
And just play a little bit more typically against them. Play a double pivot of Kroos and Modric.
Kroos, Modric double. I actually like that.
And James as a true number 10 to really
with Bale and Ronaldo and Benzema. I actually like that. Anyway, so these are the options.
Or you can play Isco as a false 9 to
that's true.
To try to get a little bit more creativity. He holds the ball up very well. He can overload at midfield very effectively. So it's not a bad idea. And my understanding is that is what Ancelotti plans for Isco because he let Morata go to Juve.
Right. I think that's probably right. And
that leaves us with one orthodox striker. So
right.
Either that or he thinks Jose is going to play there when he comes back.
So let's transition quickly. I mean, we're not going to do a super long because we're going to do another video cast at some point, and then we're going to actually relaunch the podcast with our partners, Blog Talk Radio, very soon. So that's very exciting. We're going to be doing it weekly, so stay tuned for that. We will talk about that at the end. But let's talk a little bit quickly about the Sevilla game.
Yes, which was broadly quite promising. I mean, it's a little sad that Sevilla kind of looked a little bit drab. They had Moreno poached from them by Liverpool. He didn't play in that
truly,
game. Rakitic was the heart of that team, ripped out. They may replace him. They may replace him before the end of the season. They were playing a little bit under strength. That being said, I think that it was a very promising game from us in two ways. I mean, one, you had a couple of players making their debuts. We had James and Kroos. Yeah. I thought Kroos was essentially flawless. Ancelotti called him perfect. Yeah. He distributed the ball very well. I thought he did it in both games, but it was more noticeable in the Sevilla game where control of the game was more necessary than against Atleti. But he distributed the ball across the pitch very well, much like Xabi Alonso does. So I think that he may be a long-term replacement for Alonso. He also, I thought, offered a lot in attack. He was very
maybe even more than what Xabi Alonso does
more,
in terms of
he's
setting up goal-scoring opportunities. So that's good.
And he's good in defense. He did get booked in the Sevilla game. I thought that was, with a kind of rash tackle, kind of a little bit like Alonso doing sometimes. So I thought it was interesting. It does sort of spell doom for Illarramendi, who is the great white hope brought in for 38 million, which seems like rough on Illarramendi that so little famous.
I mean, listen, I think that we can all see that over the next couple of years, Xabi will be phased out, and maybe if Illarramendi wants to stick it out, if we believe in him, because I think we can believe in him. I've seen, like, he came into that. Some of the friendlies, he's been pretty good.
He apparently had a lot of trouble with adjusting to living in Madrid. He's a small town boy. He comes from Real Sociedad. He comes from San Sebastián, a little village outside, I think, and was living with his family. And suddenly he comes to the big city and he doesn't know anybody. And some players have a lot of trouble with that. I mean, you would think, you're a big, rich footballer, you're an adult, suck it up. But Jesus Navas, for example, famously, until very recently, until his move to Manchester City, was so homesick that he couldn't play outside of Seville. So it's true. I mean, this is just one of these facts of life type of things. We see it with players in baseball, for example, coming to the Yankees and all these other things. I mean, like it's famous. Yeah, and a lot of players losing their way in the big city. I mean, I remember was it Benzema who wrecked his car going like 200 miles an hour in his Ferrari in Madrid. And
in terms of the Sevilla game, looking back on it, I felt very comfortable with it. I think that if
two great goals from Ronaldo.
The first one was, and Bale, the cross from Bale,
was spectacular.
I've really enjoyed watching this team play so far. Today was less pleasant, but the truth is, games against Atlético Madrid are unpleasant. They're just not pleasant because they are a rough, physical, dirty team, and it's just not going to be as much fun. But against teams that are going to try to play against us, like against Sevilla, it's going to be very fun to watch Madrid this season.
Put 7 past them last season, so I think that tends to suit us well.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be. So wrapping up the show, I think it's going to be just in terms of just general impressions from the preseason. I'm very excited. I'm worried about the goalkeeping situation. I think that's
why are we heading into the new season with an uncertain goalkeeping situation?
It's
we let Diego Lopez go for a reason.
It's just it seems incomprehensible. I'm still. I don't know how to answer these questions. I have a lot of them. I don't have good answers for them. I know that the answer is that Casillas doesn't want him. He doesn't believe he's done. Does not want. Not ready to be out yet. But man,
it's time to make that decision for him.
Yeah, and we were ready to do it with Raul too, and like we sent him to Schalke, and he's gracefully retired, and like that seems like to me where it should be.
You also have to remember Casillas' presence in the locker room has also been kind of disruptive. A lot of people have been talking about him leaking information to the press when he doesn't like something that's happening. He also has some issues with some senior players like Arbeloa, who sided with Mourinho publicly. So I think that he is basically problematic for the team, even when he's not playing. Now, there's nothing we can really do about it. If he doesn't want to leave, it would be politically costly to push him.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But you have to say, Diego Lopez handled it much more gracefully. I thought he was a superb player. He performed admirably for the club. He didn't want to go. He wanted to fight for his place. He did so with honor and dignity. And
he did.
He was upset to be pushed out of the club, but at the end of the day, he's also a youth product. People forget that.
I'm a big fan. All right, so let's just talk a little bit about the next steps, and we'll wrap it up. So coming this season, I would like you to expect a weekly podcast from us and Lucas. It will not be a video cast, because the truth is we do not live in the same city, any of us. But we'll get a weekly podcast. We'll have our writers coming on to give their takes most weeks if we can manage it. And we're going to have good content, so stick around. It's been fun. We're going to do another one of these first. We're really excited to work with Blog Talk Radio and the SB Nation Podcast Network.
I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's going to be a great product. And you're going to enjoy the dulcet tones of our voices, giving you the best commentary on Real Madrid every week.
Oh, absolute best. No better.
No better.
Anyway, so thanks for
we absolutely cannot guarantee that.
Not guaranteed at all. But thanks so much, and a la Madrid.
A la Madrid.
Como fue tal Madrid.